Hey guys, welcome to my channel. And over the past few years, I've grown my Instagram art account to over 1 million followers, and I decided to start taking YouTube seriously this year, and we've already crossed the 100K. So I wanted to make this video as a thanks to you guys and teach you guys every single thing I know about social media and give it back to you guys. So this is going to be an 8-part course that covers everything, right from how to get started, how to set expectations, timelines, schedules, and how to make it as easy as possible to succeed on social media, and honestly, everything I know. So let's get straight to it. Okay, welcome. Part number 1. We are going to talk about my journey just a little because I want to show you guys exactly what worked for me with proof so you guys can relate to it, and I'm sure you guys are struggling in some ways at each of these different points that I was too. Okay, so here's the facts, all right? It took me 5 years to get my first 1,000 followers. And I'm going to tell you exactly how I got those first 1,000 as well, because I know that itself is a big milestone and achievement, right? Then after that, it took me 6 months to get to 10K and another 6 months to get to 100K, right? So let's go over exactly how I got that done. And yeah, it's crazy how things compound exponentially at this level. So let's get straight to it. So the first 1K followers. The first 300 were from friends, schoolmates, family, etc. And the rest of them were from collabs with artists slightly larger than me. Okay, so I did about 2 or 3 main collaborations and 1 or 2 draw this in your style challenges. That's what the DTIYS stands for. And that's what actually got me to 1,000 followers. I was actually relatively okay at art at the time, but I did not know how to grow on social media or market myself at all. And these are the lessons I've learned. Now let's look way back. Okay, this is 2016. This is when I started growing a little. I initially started at 2015. And here we are at 2016. I was a traditional artist. I didn't do any digital art. I was slowly getting into it. And I would put up like process artworks, a lot of surrealism, and a lot of things that you would see on social media at the time, like photographers would bash 2 different photos together. And I would look at that and be like, oh, I want to make an artwork like that and make this. And as you guys can see, the tags I was using, I was all like young artist help, something, world of artists. I show you how I draw, all of this. And I would expect to go viral and somebody to like it and all of that. And at the time, not bad. Out of like 300 followers, if like what 2/3 of them like your post, I think that's really good. I mean, in today's day, even 10% if you like it, it's like great engagement, 10%. But anyway, so then I started collaborating with some of my friends and I started getting into digital art. And here's a collaboration challenge I had with my friend Sailesh, who at the time had over 10,000 followers at the least on his personal account alone. Now, Sailesh, my friend, has another main account called Brown Paper Bag Comics. That is, I think it's Brown Paper Bag Comics. So that alone had over 300,000 followers. But I was just collaborating with the main account, and he's a close, good friend of mine. We went on to start an animation studio together and all of that, but that's a different story. So I would create the backgrounds for this, and he would draw in the characters. But the cool thing about this was that we took alternate turns to make each part of our task first. So in this case, he drew the character and then I had to draw a background for it. But otherwise, I'd draw a background and then he had to place a character on it. So then we'd equally get better as artists. And yeah, slowly, my engagement, likes and all would improve. Then I had done a Draw This in Your Style challenge for about one of my friends, peers or so on. His name is Upamanya. He's an animation film director. He has his own film that's coming out, like a feature-length film. And at the time, he was running an animation studio called Ghost Animation. So he was releasing a film and he did a Draw This in Your Style challenge to raise the hype for the film. So I did that and it got shared a lot. And I was like, oh wow, I got a lot of followers, got a lot of likes. And I was like, okay, hey, this is super cool. And I'd also done a collaboration with another friend of mine. She's super talented artist, one of my juniors from college actually. Her name is Bhavna, but her Instagram ID is Kidovna. She's super good with characters and all that. So we decided to do a similar challenge that I'd done with Sailesh, where I drew the background, she drew the characters. So we did a nostalgic journey series, and we thought that this would hit a lot with the audience, cause good engagement, and just it was nostalgic for us to go over things like this because this was literally our childhood and what we grew up with, and this was like the Harry Potter thing. And it was just fan art. Everything over here was just fan art. And as you can see, my likes, engagement, all was slowly increasing, and this is even with 1,000 followers. I was getting 1,000 plus likes at the time. This taught me about creating relatable content and creating stuff that's engaging and collaborating with other artists and all of that. Then getting from 1K to 10K was another hurdle that I had to get to. And that's when I started studying artists for about 6 months. Okay. Now, at this time, I was in Disney working. It was around my second or third year over there. And I had like 1,000 to 2,000 followers. And I was also wondering about creating some source of backup income in case I ever had to leave Disney in the future or anything like that. So I thought, okay, social media is great. I would hear stories of a lot of artist friends of mine growing and blowing up on social media. And I was like, okay, I want to do this. My sole idea was that I want to get to like maybe 10,000 followers, because then my exposure would increase, and I would get a lot of freelance work in turn. So I wanted to use social media as a marketing for me to be a freelance illustrator, a freelance artist, a freelance storyboard artist, all of that. Now, what helped me get from 1K to 10K was studying other artists for 6 months. Okay. And I'm going to give you guys a complete guide, an 8-step guide. I think it's a 9-step guide at the end of this lesson on how to study artists and exactly what I did for 6 months. Okay. And then I started focusing on providing value to the community, and not only creating art just because I like it, but also creating art with the thought of making it valuable to someone else. Okay. I'll give you guys, oh, I already, I'll give you guys a complete guide on how I studied artists in the last part of this course. So stick on till there. Next up, okay, I'm going to give you some examples of what took me from 1K to 10K. This is an artwork that I did. It's part of a Living in Mumbai series that I had created, where I'd created like 10 artworks of just how it was, during my time staying in Bombay. And this was just trying out different styles, different line art, and all of that. I was still figuring out my art style as an artist at the time. So I was just trying anything that I could. And I had gone to live in Bombay for 3 years while I was working at Disney. So it was a lot of it was new to me, and I decided to just capture that, and it did really well. As you can see, the likes and all were going up, and this was around like mid July-ish of 2020, and like August, I was like then putting out tutorials as a lot of people started asking me about, can you show us how you do this? Can you show us how you do that? Give us some art tips and tricks. So I was using the carousel post feature really well and just putting out tutorials. I would also take part in these artist collaboration and artist support, where I would put out a lot of posts saying artist support and leave all your details in the comments, leave all your, tell us who you are as an artist, and then we'll check out each other, follow each other, like each other back, and so on. As you can see, this was around September. This was also at around the time I hit maybe 10K or so. And again, if you guys see, like we're at like 4,000 likes, a lot of comments. Then also more relatable stuff, like Bandra is a main area in the city of Mumbai, where it's like one of the most popular areas there. So I decided to do like a photo study of it. Like I found a picture actually on Pinterest. I did a photo study, and this was, I think, one of my first posts to cross like 10K likes. So I was like, oh wow, this is like really relatable, and this is something that people can look at. And look at this comment, right? Wow, I stay in Bandra. This is really the beginning of the bandstand, bro. You captured it so well, mind blowing. And that's what people start relating to more and more. Now let's talk about how I went from 10K to 100K. Okay, so I started experimenting a ton. And after experimenting a lot, I figured out that my workflow, like the way I actually make artworks, was the most popular thing on social media. So what helped me figure this thing out was that I would put up an artwork and then I'd put out a time lapse of how I did it. And even in the time lapse, people will be like, whoa, how are you just making artwork straight from background to foreground? Are you not making any rough lines? Are you not making any rough sketches? How are you just doing perspective without any guides? And I figured out that that was the most impressive thing, not the artwork at the end of it, just the workflow. So I started using short videos to display my workflow and also teach other artists how to get similar results. Once my reels started going viral, I uploaded almost every day consistently. Okay, so that is a key thing that we'll touch on later. Now let's look at the reels that I was uploading. I'm just going to give you guys one example. And yeah, as you guys can see, in December itself, right, we went from like 10K, 12K likes in September to getting over 200,000 likes on a post back then. This post had gone incredibly viral. And yeah, that's what skyrocketed me from 10K to 100K from like December all the way to January. And yeah, from then it's just been steadily growing. Okay, now part two is what you need to know. All right, this is the second part of the module, so let's get to it. Step one, okay, is you need to get good at something. You need not be good at art alone, but it can be things like humor, storytelling, even talking about art, even research and study. Like, for example, a lot of YouTube channels are doing really well that do documentaries on other people's success, other people's failures, other people's stories, anything, right? They do a lot of research study and they do it well. A lot of artists do well by just covering the art news and talking about it, or talk about what they like as an artist, talking about themselves. And storytelling is a big thing, and humor. I'll give you an example, such as comic artists. They may not be the best artists there are, but they're excellent at putting together a simple visual with good storytelling in a few frames, and that's why comics are so universally loved. You don't need to be an artist to like a comic, anyone can. And you need to get good enough to be able to put out things on social media and stand out, right? So what I mean by stand out, it means that if someone's scrolling on their page, you should hold them for a point that they stop, like your post, or stop, read the comments, or they stop and share it. Okay, that is what I mean by standing out. They shouldn't just swipe, 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 and that is it. Okay, that's the only thing you need to be good enough at on social media at a starting point. You do not need to be the best, you just need to be good enough that others will pay some amount of attention to you. You can focus on being the best as you get better and better into it. As you will grow more on social media, you'll be able to invest more into it. And once you start seeing a little bit of success and wins, you'll also build up that motivation and momentum to keep getting better and better and better. Now let's go to step two, which is the 4 H's. These are incredibly important. It is humor, helpfulness, heart, and how. If your posts have any of this, they can do really well on social media. So this is something I just keep in the back of my mind when I'm thinking of a new idea I want to put out. So if your post is funny, makes them laugh. If it's helpfulness, like a tutorial. If it has heart, that tugs on their heartstrings, like, or something that's more relatable, like, oh, childhood nostalgia, or cute puppies or dogs, any of that, and something that makes them go, how? Like, how did they do this? Now, if you look at my reels or posts, like, I'm not so good at humor, but I'm good at helpfulness, which I give them tutorials on how to make artworks like you guys. And in terms of the heart factor, some of my artwork is relatable because usually like a lonely person staring off into the distance. And how, because of the tutorials, I make it so easy to look and follow. People are like, how are you doing that? How are you doing that so easily? And these 4 really do well on social media. So aim to have at least one of these H's in your uploads. Okay, we are doing good. So step 3 is you need to treat it like a business, okay, and not a hobby. So don't expect to feel good every time you work on it, right? That's more like a hobby. You do a hobby because you like doing it. But a business is something that you show up to and work, whether you have good days or bad days or everything, right? There are larger goals on longer timelines that will give you rewards based on your inputs, right? So it's not based on how you feel, it's based on what you put in, okay? Yes, it is fun, but a lot of the times it isn't. That's where the business side of it comes in. Okay, so what does it mean to treat it like a business? Is you need to invest, which is step 4. So step 3 is more like a mindset shift. Step 4 is on what actually needs to be done in the business, which is it requires an investment. In most people's cases, time is the best one, because when you don't know if something's going to work or something you're just testing out, you don't want to just throw in a lot of money, you don't want to throw in resources, you don't want to like hire people, all of that. So the best thing you can do is give it some time. Hence, the more of your time you can invest into it, the more rewarding it gets. Now, later on, you'll be able to get back your time by 2 ways. That is hiring people to help you and getting much faster, getting much faster at the same tasks and building systems. So what do I mean by getting much faster at the same task and building systems? So when I started making artworks, I would take about 6 to 8 hours to make a digital painting. Now I take about an hour on average, an hour and a half at most. Sometimes 2 hours if I'm chilling and taking breaks a lot, right? So that itself is much faster. And systems. Okay, so when it comes to systems, I have systems in place that allow me to put out things on social media much faster. So I have the exact steps I do to help me record my reels, to edit it in half an hour and upload it whenever I want to. I also take the full length recording of each of my artworks as a screen recording, and I plug in a mic and I talk over it while I'm recording. So then I already have a finished tutorial to upload on my sites like Patreon or Gumroad to give to you guys as full length tutorials. So every time I make an artwork, I get a social media post out of it, I get a finished illustration out of it, and I get a full-length tutorial that I can put out on Patreon and all of that. And that all gets done within 2 hours. Technically, all I have to do is 2 hours of work every day to keep my social media going. And that was not the case when I first started. It would take me so much time and effort, like I didn't even know how to edit properly. The next thing is step 5. You need to commit to it for the long term. Okay, so you need to understand the loser paradox. All right, so I left this nice blank space here for me to draw on. So for example, here's you or me, whatever. And this person considers themselves a loser or someone who's just starting off and doesn't have experience. And there's someone here who we look at as our future selves or the potential of our future selves, and we're like, that's a winner. Now, in between us, there is like a chasm or like a ravine or something. And we need to create a bridge to go from being a loser to a winner. Okay. Now, this bridge that we create, I'm an artist, so I'm making it a little bit more aesthetic by drawing some wooden pegs on it. So let's give it some planks of wood. Okay. So every time we step off from our comfort zone, which is this platform, and we want to go to our goals, which is this platform, right? We start failing, because not very likely that the first thing you're going to do is going to be very successful. So once we fail, we go low, a bit lower in life, right? Because we think, oh shit, I wasted so much time, it's not doing well, all of that. And then we try again and we go even lower because we are not doing well, right? You see how the bridge is like sinking down. And a lot of times people go back to being this loser state. And then once again, they try something else. And then after 2-3 failures, they go back. But the thing is, every time you fail, you're actually moving a little forward, right? And that's taking you closer to the goal. And slowly those failures are gonna keep adding up, becoming stepping stones, adding to your bridge, and then making you a winner. So that is the thing where we have to fail fast or fail more often in order to get good and reach our goals a lot faster, reach where we want to be. Now, the problem is that everyone reaches this point and then goes back to the start, keeps going back, and becomes a circle, right? So you have to be a loser a lot in order to be a winner, okay? So that is another important point, and that's more of the mindset shift, and that is what you have to commit to for the long term, because the longer your timeline is over here that you're allowing yourself to fail, the easier it is for you to become successful. Let's go on to part 3, which is cracking social media. So part 2, again, was just the things you need to know. Now let's talk about how to actually crack social media. Okay, so what exactly should you post? Firstly, is find something that you want society to see. So you comes first. So don't do things just because they are doing well on social media, because this is something you want to do in the long run, especially if you're an artist or a creative, you need to have your heart into it. So you comes first, and then you add society onto it. And by society, remember, I'm not saying what other artists want to see. Now, a lot of artists make this mistake of putting out posts that only other artists can relate to. Like they'll put out storyboards and rough sketches and all of that, but the general public has no clue what that means, right? Like, for example, you see a lot of animators putting out their rough sketches of like green lines, blue lines, all the different lines. Nobody knows what that means, but the animators and artists do. Now, that is great for your portfolio. That's great for getting work. That's great for getting hired because the industry knows what that means. But if you're looking to blow up on social media, you have to generally look at it as society. That means that a majority of the people who are looking at your work are not artists, right? So it's something you want to see and what non-artists want to see, right? That's why fan art does so well, because people watch anime and movies without even being artists or movie makers. So when they see a fan art about it, they just love it. They can relate to it immediately. So it's important to put a part of yourself into it, even if that part is an act. Now, what do I mean by an act? Now, a lot of us think of social media as being truly ourselves, which works really well. But sometimes you may need to tweak that a little bit. For example, a lot of YouTubers, streamers and all, they 2x their personalities on social media. By 2x, I mean they double up on who they are. Like for social media, for example, if they're funny, they'll try to be twice as funny. If they are serious, they'll try to be a little bit more serious. If they are trying to get attention and grab your attention. They'll do a lot of video editing, a lot of hooks, a lot of nice video match cuts, all of that. And that is an act, as we call it, right? Because that's not exactly how they are in real life, but they are more of an exaggerated version of themselves. But that is still them, okay? So even if you have to be someone who you kind of feel like it's fake, it try and make it more like you internally. It's like an exaggerated version of yourself, and remember to put even that version into your work. Okay, next, just following trends and copying viral content can be counterproductive if it does not have you in it. I'll tell you why. So if you want to blow up as an artist and nothing's working, and then you suddenly see some trend that's doing well, right? Like some dance trend or some music or something, and then you decide to do an art version of that or something, or you just decide to copy that trend immediately as it is, you might get a lot of views and virality, but people will come to your page and they'll be like, oh, this person has nothing else to do this, or they'll follow you and then unfollow you a bit later because you're not repeating that. Then you'll get caught up in the cycle of trying to just repeat trends, and you'll be like, okay, who am I? What am I exactly doing? But if you can take that trend and make it part of you and your art style, your story, your background, your craft, anything, that still works really well. So don't just blindly copy trends and all to go viral. Go in it with a plan to use it as a stage to put out more of yourself to the world. Okay. Now learn to balance between what you like and what does well online. If you lean too much on either side, you won't be able to stay committed. That is there. You do not want it to feel too much like a chore, because social media is also very personal. It is your page. So you want to treat it like a bit of an extension of yourself. So if you just treat it like work, like you're working for a big corporation that has asked you to just handle their social media page, you'll get bored. Okay. Next up is, don't treat it like a portfolio. Yes, it's great for exposure, but think of your social media page as marketing. Now, I used to treat my social media page as a portfolio page. And I actually, when clients used to ask me for my portfolio, I just send them my Instagram and they just not even look at it. They'd be like, can you show us like a professional portfolio or a website and all that? This is because a lot of people in the industry, a lot of them aren't even on social media. Like my bosses at Disney and so on, they didn't have Instagram accounts, right? They didn't care, it didn't matter to them. And then we show them like an Instagram account. They're like, can you show me it on your phone? I don't have the thing. I don't even use it. I don't even want to open it, all that stuff. So think of it as marketing for yourself and not a portfolio. There are different portfolio sites that you can use to have it solely as a portfolio. But yes, it can serve as a portfolio if you have a lot of good work and people are coming there and hiring you based on that. But the main priority is use it for marketing yourself, right? So the goal is not to just get popular on social media, but to benefit from that popularity by growing a community, getting work opportunities, building your connections, and growing your income, right? This is all that social media is going to do for you once you start getting a good following and engagement. Now, the thing is, most of these exist outside the platform, right? So it's not just Instagram, right? So growing your income and all exists outside, building your connections is outside, getting work opportunities is usually outside, growing a community is also like a Discord community or something. It's a lot of times it's outside. Sorry, I just need a sip of tea. Oh, my throat has been killing me as of late. Now, so yeah, social media is just a gateway to take these ahead. So the more you market yourself in this, the more you build yourself up to be good on social media and get work opportunities or grow your income or grow your community outside of social media. Okay, next up is, how do you know what is going to work? The thing is, you don't. Because I mean, if you did, you'd already be successful by now. I mean, that's a harsh thing to hear or to say, but that's the harsh reality that we all need to know. If you already knew what was going to work for you, you would already be successful, right? So the goal is to throw everything you can at the wall and see what sticks. So when something sticks, you then take that ahead and keep building up on it, right? The goal is not to plan too much ahead and start creating the perfect strategy right at the start. It is to start first and then make it perfect as you go along. Okay, so focus on experimenting a lot. Now, if you go back to what I was talking about earlier, and I said I experimented a lot, and I figured out that my workflow was the thing that people really liked the most and not the final artwork, that opened up a lot of doors for me and helped me then create reels and short form content that actually made my stuff stand out really well. So the aim is to learn as much as you can instead of trying to copy what works for others. Again, it is you here that needs to be highlighted because it's all about you, what you like, what your story is, what you bring to the table, instead of just copying what works for others. Yes, study instead of copy. If you can study and then implement it for yourself, that makes a big difference. And we'll talk about that, like I said, as we go on. All right. Now, you need to be able to do these three things. Okay. Step one is to find a comfortable schedule. So, you create a schedule, try sticking to it, and then modify it as you go along for a week or two. Now, why do you need a schedule? Because once you create a schedule, you're able to put social media work or your creator stuff or your editing video, all that stuff on a timeline that's part of your day. And every time you see that, you're like, okay, I have to do this. I mean, treat it like meals that are three times a day, breakfast, lunch, dinner. If you have breakfast, lunch, dinner, social media, it makes it all the more important. So just find a schedule and don't create something ambitious right from the start. Just find something that's easy that works and tweak it as you go. The next thing is step two is to work on it daily. So give it some amount of time every single day, right? Even if you don't have the time for creating content, spend it on interacting with the community or doing research, but make it a part of your day and make it integral. Step three is to upload as soon as possible and then modify. So stop planning and start acting. Okay, set a deadline for your next upload and stick to it. Even if the posts are bad, you will learn a lot faster than just waiting for the right time. Count each upload as a win and try and make each upload slightly better in some way. Okay. And now we move on to part four, which is how to go viral. Okay, so this is the thing I'm sure a lot of you guys have been waiting for or looking for. So let's get to it. Okay, so make it these. It's as simple as this. Okay, make things easy to understand for a normal average person, right? Not a highly sophisticated artist, not a professor, all of that, a normal average person. Next, make it so that language isn't a barrier. Remember that majority of the world doesn't even speak English. Okay, it's actually a smaller portion of it. So make it so that language isn't a barrier. Then make it interesting to people outside your niche. Now, what I mean by this is that if you look at pop star singers, okay, like Taylor Swift, she's viral, a lot of people like her, even if they aren't musicians, songwriters, singers, all of that. They still like music, they still like songs, they like singers. You don't have to be a singer to like a singer. Same thing, your post should not be, you don't have to be an artist or craftsperson to like this. So make people want to engage. Like they should like, save, and share. And make it have a high rewatch value. This is for short form content. Tutorials are a great hack for this because it's something that people save and they keep coming back to watch over and over again. Next thing is make it to the point and deliver what is promised. So if you're making a tutorial, make a tutorial. If you're promising lo-fi cafe vibes, promise that and deliver on it. Don't just switch it to a tutorial. Or don't say you're going to make a tutorial and then add in lo-fi cafe vibes and waste everyone's time. People are looking at your stuff for a specific reason. Make it to that point, deliver it, and they'll keep coming back and they'll keep scrolling your page for hours and they'll be like, oh man, like I just been on your page for hours. Like this has actually happened where people find one of my reels and then they scroll my page for like a long time and then they drop a comment on like a reel from like 2 years back and they're like, I've been on your page for the past hour. Like, wow, like oof, So that's what you want to do. If you can make it to the point, deliver what is promised. Okay, that is it. This is literally it on how to go viral. If you can just make it these things, it's a lot more easier than you think. Next thing is assigning timelines. So how do you assign timelines for yourself? How do you know when something's going to work or not? How do you go about that? Number one is to not expect anything for a while. The more you can wait, the more power you have. Okay. Now, as a starting point, try uploading consistently for 8 weeks. Okay, so over 8 weeks, see what engages the audience more. Now, let me go back to this. The more you can wait, the more power you have. So if you tell someone who is overweight, let's get you started on doing 10,000 steps a day and you're going to eat like 400 to 500 calories lesser than what your body needs, You will lose weight, but don't expect it. Don't check the weighing scale, all of that, right? If they do that consistently for 100 days, they will lose a lot of weight, maybe even 10 kgs. You never know, right? Similarly, if you're an artist, right? I'm speaking a little bit more niche down to my audience who is artists, right? If I tell someone, do a study every single day, a specific study for 100 days, but do not expect to improve with each and every artwork, but just do it without fail, right? At the 100th day, I can promise you that if they stuck with it, they will be 10 times a better artist, just like that, right? But people, they'll do it for 10 days, they'll do it for a week, then they'll come and be like, I haven't improved, I haven't done this. Because every day is different. You have high energy, low energy, you have motivation, you have no motivation, you have good references, bad references, all of that stuff, even if that's such a thing. And then you don't feel like drawing, all of that. But if you lengthen out the timeline, and all of those bad days go away, all the good days compound, and that's how you start leveling up. And over you learn how to work through the bad days and all of that, because you have to do it for 100 days continuous, right? So the more you can wait. Now, for example, my goal is, once I start uploading regularly on YouTube, I want to upload one long form video every single week for 100 videos. That is 2 years of YouTube. Then I'm going to decide if it's something I want to do or if it's something I don't. That's my plan, right? I'm going to give it 2 years before I decide. Now, over the 8 weeks that I told you guys to upload, see what engages the audience more. For example, a couple in a library will be more relatable than a random alien in a world with no context. Like, this is something a lot more people will relate to, and I took this just from the artwork I placed here on the left side. But if you're doing an alien world, give it something that helps the social media audience connect. Like, make something that the alien is doing. Like, okay, even though he's an alien in an alien world, he still has coffee, or he still has same human problems, all of that, Fifth point is the most important: act until echo. So what does act until echo means? It is to keep throwing things at the wall until you hear feedback. And until then, no stopping. So let me explain what this means. So a lot of us, we start putting our stuff on social media, a lot of our artworks, and maybe only our friends and family leave comments, or our supporters, but even if you don't have that, you don't get any comments. So we decide at that point that there's no engagement, there's no likes, there's nothing, let's give up. But the point is, if you're not getting any engagement likes, you're already doing something wrong. So you have to keep putting out stuff till you improve to a point where you get likes, you get engagement, and you get people commenting back. Now, people commenting back is the feedback that you want to hear. So once you start hearing the feedback, it can be good, it can be neutral, it can be bad, right? If it's good, you can definitely bank on it and do more and double what you're already doing. If it is bad, you can then take it, reassess, change it up completely, and come back. Okay, you can do that. But a lot of us stop before we even get that feedback. That is a huge roadblock into our social media goals. So keep going until you get that echo back, right? And once you start hearing strangers tell you that they like your work, that's when you go harder at it. Part number 6, how do you know it is working? Okay, exactly. How do you know that it's working? Let's go into that. It's simple. You know what's working when strangers on the internet start asking you for more. Exactly, adding on to the point that I just made previously. When strangers on the internet start asking for more, that's a clear indicator that's working. Or if you are in it for rage bait and engagement, and strangers on the internet start hating you more, and you like that because your whole social media platform is built on rage bait and getting some sort of engagement and going viral because of that, you're a troll. That also works for you, right? But it has to be strangers, not people you know. But here's a big mistake to avoid. Do not take it easy once you get a viral post. Go at it harder. Put out more posts similar to that. Engage with the community more. Give them more of what they are asking for. Don't get sidetracked and distracted with other goals, right? So once you start seeing a bit of success, don't take it easy and don't be like, I'm going to chase this thing now, I'm going to do that, all of that. Right? For example, if your art tutorial goes viral, don't quit on it and start putting out your own webcomic. Give them more tutorials, build up your media presence, and later release your webcomic to a larger community. When you have more resources, when you have more time, when you have more followers, it'll be a lot more successful. Right? So when you start seeing that success, you go at it much harder. Now, in my case, when my reels started blowing up, that is when I started uploading every single day for the month of December to Jan of 2020 to 2021, and I hit from 10K to 100K. Now, tips on growing your presence. So focus on giving as much value as you can. So give, and only then ask for something in return from your audience. Okay, so a lot of us, we'll put out a tutorial and then people like it, and then automatically we'll release a book or a downloadable ebook or some brush packs, all of that. But then people are like, okay, you're good but not that good, or you're like, why are you doing this, all of that. You won't get much sales, right? Like a lot of people, they start Patreon early, they start Gumroad early. That's all fine, but I would suggest first giving value to your audience, and then they in turn will want to get something back from you and support you along your journey. And that is when your audience will become a part of your journey a lot larger once you give enough value to them, right? So if something works, do not reinvent the wheel. Do more of it, but at a better quality, right? So if your reels are working, if your shorts are working, if your art is working in general, keep repeating that, but keep improving your quality. So you're not just copy pasting the same thing over and over again. You're trying to make it a little better. You're trying to make the story better. You're trying to make the lighting better. You're trying to make your video quality better. You're trying to do maybe 2 instead of 1 a day, all of that, right? So if you want to experiment now, how do you do that? I would recommend doing 1 out of 5 posts, where 4 posts are what's doing okay or well for you, and then 1 post is something new. So even if you are ambitious enough and upload every day, like every 10 days, you will have 8 posts that are in your line and 2 posts of that are a bit experimental. That's a great mix. And also try and be on as many platforms as you can, right? From Twitter, Threads, Instagram, YouTube, Pinterest, anything that you want. You never know where it's going to hit for you, so just do that. And keep reminding people that you exist. Public memory is short. That's also a good thing, because you can put up garbage and people won't remember it the next day. And if you put out something good, they'll also not remember it the next day. So the thing is, you got to keep experimenting. And if you're putting out something good, keep putting out good things so that they remember you. And if you're putting out bad things, don't worry, people just forget, they scroll past. So use that to your advantage, which is public memory is short, and give it your best. Part 7 is how to be more consistent. Now, this is like straight out of my bag, straight out of all my life experiences that I'm going to give you these tips. So I need a bit of tea for that because my throat has been killing me. Okay, now, step 1 is to change your environment. If whatever you've been doing till now isn't working, you need to change or modify something. It could be your workspace, could be your media consumption, could be a time for working, could be a time for socializing. Maybe you actually need more socializing, right? You never know. And your friends. Now, when I talk about friends, I'm saying don't burn bridges. Just prioritize different friends for different things. Like, do not go outside to a social meeting and then get angry because you don't have time to make art. At the same time, don't go to an artist group where you're sitting and sketching at a cafe and then change plans to try and go to a party or something. There are different time for different things, and don't blame your like anger, or don't put it out on your friends for that. Just prioritize your time. Don't specifically cut people off. Over time, if your friends are maybe not the kind you want to hang out with, it'll fade away organically, naturally over time, because it's a two-way street, right? So don't actively just now be like, I'm not going to talk to you again, and just burn all of this, say I'm just busy. Keep your friendships, just prioritize them differently. And also, you can change up your hobbies. Because remember, if whatever you've been doing till now isn't working, you need to change or modify something. And that has been one of the greatest things that has helped me boost my career. Because I've gone and tried putting out artworks on the walls behind me, to every time I sit, I look at the wall and it's not any of my own artworks. I only put out artworks of people I look up to, so then be like, that is where I want to be. And every time I sit at my desk, I feel super motivated. Another thing I do is I listen to podcasts or interviews by other artists or other people who are successful in their own careers. And it feels like I'm in the room with them while I'm working on my own craft. So I can hear what they're saying, and I'm feeling like I'm putting in my work, putting in the effort at the same time. So it feels like we're in the same room, just working together. And I really love that. So those are things. And I also have cafe sessions where we sit and we sketch with our friends, and anyone, like sometimes late at night. I know it's a different vibe. Who goes to the cafe at night, right? But yeah. Step 2 is be accountable. You need to hold yourself accountable. If you aren't good at doing it yourself, be accountable to others. For example, Forming an artist collective with my friends really helped us all get better. We later registered ourselves as a studio. If you Google or check on Instagram or even write this, you get Studio Sideline. That is the studio I co-founded with my friends, and we didn't even intend to start a studio initially. We thought we'd just be like a collective, but that helped each of us get accountable in ways that we would not have imagined, because we are like, hey, you can do better, or have you done that work for today, or you said you're going to draw, what happened, all that stuff. I also partner with a company that helps me with my courses and have a manager to keep me on top of all of my work. Like, he currently has my schedules, has all the posts that have to go up. Whenever I open the registers for my courses, all that is there. But I have to be on top of things because I have a partner company and I'm accountable to them. Another great example is that exams and assignments are what we'll usually pull all nighters for, but we rarely do that for our own work, because if it's a passion project, we're all like, I will wait for the perfect time, the perfect mindset, the perfect resources, the perfect references, I'll wait for a coffee, all of that. But when we have an exam or an assignment that's the next day, we have no excuse. We just stay up, pull an all nighter, do it, and we are capable of that. But none of us end up doing that for our own work, like for our own passion projects, unless we put a timeline on it or unless we make ourselves accountable. That is why it's super important to always be externally accountable. And you have no idea how much this will help you improve as an artist. Now, step 3 is to set a daily checklist, and you are not allowed to sleep before you finish them. So when you first start off, do not be ambitious and list 10 things or list 2, 3 different artworks, because everyone's all fresh in the morning, and when you set your goals, you're like tired by night and you keep postponing work, and you're like, okay, I will do this later on in the evening. Once you reach the evening, your energy levels drop and you don't do it, right? So don't be ambitious when starting off. Pick simple, easy tasks and tick them off as you go along with your day. I create my to-do list the night before, so I don't spend my mornings on planning and thinking. This is because I'm usually the most focused in the mornings and the most creative at nights. So you need to be able to plan, schedule, and create and deliver your work on a regular basis. And for that, checklists are the foundation, right? So set a checklist that is daily and then stick to it. Now, step 4 is find your energy leaks. This is like a very underrated hack that I love doing. Now, if I'm not as productive as I want to be or as creative as I want to be, the first thing I do is I set up a daily tracker and I find out where my time is actually spent and where I spent the most amount of energy and where all that goes. So I track how much time I spend creating, consuming, learning, how much time I spend on meals, how much time I spend on exercise, on rest breaks, on socializing, on if you're on work, school, college, just track all of that. And it'll help you be more aware of your time and where it goes. And this actually helped me come up with a system where I first create an artwork early in the morning as a warm-up piece or something before I get to any work. So then that's ticked off and most of my fresh energy is spent there. Sometimes I even decide what the artwork is during the night before. So I just wake up in the morning, I know what I'm going to do, and I do that. And that is like a huge win for me, because my artwork is my bread and butter. It is the core thing that gives me all my income, runs all my social media, runs everything. So that's the most important thing. And I used to keep my artwork for later on at night, which is not the best because my energy level is usually the lowest and I'm usually running on caffeine at the time, which is not healthy. So now I keep just personal projects for the end, but my core artwork, that is my career, I keep it at the start of the day. Step 5. This is a super cool hack, okay? It is to imagine your life being like a documentary. So imagine if Netflix decided to come over and what's my spelling? So imagine if Netflix decided to come over and actually document your rise to success, right? How would you live life differently? So how would a successful version of you think? Would a successful version of me not work on this today because he was feeling lazy? Or you need to take yourself seriously if you want the world to as well. So think of your life as a documentary. Think of you being filmed at every point, and how would you carry yourself? How would you hold yourself? How much work could you get done that day? That is ideally how you should live your life on most days. Of course, have rest days, like have a Sunday off or something. You can just chill. I don't mean like be like military about it. You need to have fun. Okay, part 8. This is a guide on how to study social media. It's very simple and straightforward. You guys must be thinking this is so obvious, but once you start applying it, once you actually sit down and do it, you'll be like, wow, I've learned so much. Okay, so let's get to that. The 8-step method. So, number one, pick a successful artist account you resonate with. Number two, scroll down their feed and try to track where they reached success and what made them so. Number three, also see if they existed on other platforms or sites before Instagram, such as DeviantArt, Tumblr, and so on. Number four is to make a note of how consistent they are, their subject matter, and what makes them stand out. Right? What makes them stand out is super important. If you can isolate that part out, you'll be able to study a lot of artists more easily and also understand yourself better. Then make notes of what you can immediately apply to yourself and try integrating it to your plan. I do not mean like things like, oh, he's been drawing for 10 years, so I'll also have to draw for 10 years before that. Instead, if he uploaded a post in a certain way that worked, try that. If he used something like chromatic aberration to make his artwork look like something from Into the Spider-Verse or something, you can try that. And if they're trying different cuts and camera angles, you can try that. It should be something that you can immediately take and apply to yourself and and then start integrating that into your plan. Okay. So don't mindlessly scroll, take mental notes. You're not looking for motivation, you are looking for answers. And then slowly start studying accounts that aren't artists, right? Because once you start studying into this, you'll start seeing that the principles of success are the same. Whether you're an artist, whether you're a chef, whether you're just a personality, whether you're a fitness icon, all of that, the principles of them growing up and being successful are still very much the same, and you can learn a lot from that as well. So start by studying every single day, then slow it down and balance it out with your time you spend creating. Okay, so now I don't study artists as much as before, but when I used to, it used to really help me learn things that I never thought was okay, there's a way to do that. And I also learned a lot about creating income sources just by seeing how other artists did it. And that was super helpful because most of us artists don't know how to make money or are actually very good at it. So we don't have a point or a roadmap to do that. So I would look at other businesses and other people who did, and then I'll be like, oh, it's the same process. I can create these things on Gumroad and put them up there. I could have courses in this way. I could have a Patreon in this way, and the other things I'm working at towards that as well, the income source that I've learned just by looking at other business people. So that's the thing about studying, and of course now as I am over 1 million followers, I'm actually studying on people who are way ahead of me. And I'm at 100K on YouTube, but my long form content is, I'm still figuring it out. So I'm studying people on how they make long form content, how they talk to the camera, their lighting, how they just script themselves, because I think that's what matters a lot. It's more about the content as opposed to just the quality and the packaging of it, especially on YouTube. So if I can give as much value as possible, that is my goal. And anyway, thank you guys for this. And yeah, if you guys liked it, you can ask me, of course, for more courses, more tutorials, and anything you'd like. But this is a complete guide on just growing social media and what worked for me and what I'm sure will work for you too as well. And I'll see you guys in the next video.